This video contains manga spoilers. So if you haven't read Jujutsu Kaisen manga till now, please do go and read it. Because from this point on, I don't want anyone to bitch about manga spoilers, why didn't you give me spoilers, etc. etc. You guys have been warned. Thank you. Hello there, I'm Car and welcome to Car What Ifs. This is the second part and the final part actually of What If Kenjaku Never Sealed Gojo Satoru. Since this is my first time making what if videos and writing scripts in this channel, my quality of videos would be quite low, but I'll try my best to develop as I go on, making more videos on this channel. So if you could help me by giving suggestions on what I should develop, what I should do, what I should not do, that really would be helpful. So I'm not really going to waste much of your time anymore. So without any further ado, let's get rolling. Yuji has just seen the horrors that has been done by Sakuna, and the only thing that he wants to do right now is to kill himself. He tries going around trying to find rocks to stab himself, to beat his head with it, but again, his body is so durable that it just gets destroyed and obliterated. He goes around Shibuya to find something so that he could kill himself, but unfortunately, nothing really works. He enters the station where he meets Nanami fighting Mahito. Now, I didn't explain this much about in my previous part, but due to the fact that Jogo is not the one fighting Nanami this time because Jogo already came to Yuji much earlier in the series, he would never get scarred enough. Meaning, when he fights Dagon and when he fights Mahito later, his health would be much more higher than what he would have been in canon. But unfortunately, even with him being healthy enough, he would still succumb to Mahito. And unfortunately, Itadori would be still there, still see this at his worst moment. But this would just make Itadori even more fucked up mentally by seeing Mahito. And Mahito would immediately shout at Itadori to, well, fight him. And Itadori, knowing that Mahito is the only option that he has to kill himself, decides to let Mahito kill him. And so he becomes defenseless, which allows Mahito to blitz him and goes to attack him. But at that moment, he remembers Nanami's last words that he would leave it to Itadori. Itadori immediately snaps out of his mental state and dodges the attack and lands a divergent fist on Mahito's face. He would explain that he needs Mahito to kill him because about all the horrors that he did as by letting Sakuna take over him and all the horrors that he did, he needs repentance for that, and that repentance is going to be Mahito. But that does not mean that he's going to forgive Mahito for what he did to Junpei and now Nanami. He's going to kill him, but he wants Mahito to kill him too. So this situation becomes a death match where they both go for killing blows. The fight would still be the same, and it would eventually lead into Nobara coming in and trying to help Itadori Yuji, but again, she really did not make that much of a difference unless for Yuji to get some clean hits to Mahito. But again, yeah, she would still get tapped on her face, which would almost kill her. And this time, the effect of that is much, and I repeat again, much higher than what it was. This time, he's not just traumatized. He starts hyperventilating. He starts getting a heart attack, literally. And Mahito, well, he kind of uses that the opportunity while Yuji is getting a heart attack to use a black flash, which would give him, which would help him concentrate enough to get to know more about the soul. But yeah, that's another point as well. Anyways, this would send Yuji flying, and across the battlefield, and Mahito starts beating on Yuji until Toro arrives to save him by using Boogie Woogie. But fortunately, this time around, even Toro's speech about sacrifices and responsibilities doesn't really go into Yuji's mind because, again, the black flash combined with him having a normal heart attack almost incapacitated him. Again, almost. Yuji is like so durable for some odd reason. Again, the manga readers know what the reason is. So, anyways, as I was saying, his mentally, he's not right there mentally. He's revisiting the trauma that he has just this couple of hours in Shibuya, seeing Gojo Sensei dead, seeing Nanami dead, and now seeing Nobara dead. It's gonna mentally fuck up some person. But unfortunately, since Toro's speech is not really working, he knows he has to help his brother. He knows he has to make sure that Itadori stands on his feet. So he decides to fight Mahito alone, leaving Itadori alone to wallow in his misery. But unfortunately, even with Boogie Woogie, even if Toro manages to use a Black Flash, or even if Toro's 500 IQ a battle play, Toro himself isn't enough to fight against Mahito. Remember, the most damage that was dealt to Mahito was due to Itadori. Itadori, with his divergent fists, with his ability to interact with souls by punching them, and his copious amounts of black flash that he's spamming, like four times of black flashes that he's spamming, is the one that hurt Mahito the most. And Itadori was the person who pushed Mahito so much. But unfortunately, even with Boogie Woogie, Todo is still not as capable as Itadori is at that point. Even if, for some odd reason, by luck, it seems, Todo even makes two black flashes, which he cannot do consecutively. But if he did, Mahito would just get annoyed because, again, Todo cannot interact with Mahito's soul. So, technically, whatever damage that Todo does use without Black Flash just gets literally no feeling out of it. And he decides to end Todo, but he can't touch Todo, so he decides to go to the next stage by using domain expansion. But fortunately, without Yuji there, not being the person distracting Mahito, Todo gets transfigured, but not just his hand. Mahito immediately runs towards Todo while Todo is getting transfigured, and immediately launches another black flash, which has two effects. Number one, it allows Mahito to reach his true essence, the instant spirit body of distorted killing, which is a big mouthful for some odd reason. I don't know why Mahito decided to name it that, but anyways, due to the black flash that was hit upon Todo, he was not able to properly do his job, which is to cut his hand. So, unfortunately, this leads into not only his hand being transfigured, but his entire body, effectively killing him. Now, Mahito doesn't completely transfigure Todo though, like not like he did with Junpei. He kills Todo, but not completely destroys him or transfigures him into something else. He brings Toro's transfigured corpse to Yuji to show Yuji that his brother is dead, and also to show him about his new form. But Yuji has just seen way too much tonight, and this really doesn't make this really doesn't give the effect that Mahito wanted. That is look to look at Itadori's despairing face and see him suffer. He gets bored and decides to end this shit fest of Shibuya, and he reaches at his hand as Itadori, knowing that if Sakuna does try to help him, he can still stop him. Because again, at this point in time, Mahito thinks that his true self, true essence is stronger than anything else he has ever faced. And even if he were to face the King of Curses, he would come out in time. He doesn't know about the fight between him, Gojo, and Mahito, after all. Anyways, but that's when a word is heard by Itadori. En-Chain. Now, let's go to another place. Kenjaku just comes to Shibuya station to check how things are going on, to see if his plan's working, which of course it is, but to his surprise or to his knowledge, or no, not to his knowledge, but to his interest, curiosity, a figure which looks like Mahito approaches in front of him. Kenjaku at first thinks it's Mahito, but the presence, but the cursed energy that he's feeling is not Mahito. And not only that, to give more proof to this, there are tattooed like markings on Mahito's body, which did not have before. This allows Kenjaku to recognize who Mahito is or Mahito currently is. And that Mahito is confused, or no, Kinjaku, I'm sorry, yeah. Mahito comes closer to Kinjaku and Kinjaku explains to Mahito about his plans, which was ruined thanks to Mahito. Mahito just shrugs and tells Kinjaku that his plans was gonna fail anyway if Yuji was in the right mind. Kenjaku then says, why are you trying? Why did you even take over Mahito anyway? Sakuna. Sakuna answers, you know why? That brat has a cage of a body, and I needed to get out of that. I plan to use Megumi Fushiguro for that, but this body will suffice. Kenjaku is again interested on what Sakuna is talking about and inquires Sakuna on how and what he did. Sakuna mentions the binding vow that he did with Tadori Yuji on the behalf of him reviving Yuji. There were two clauses in this binding vow. Number one, the word En-Chain. It has using the word En-Chain. Yuji would completely lose control of his body for 1 minute, and Sakuna would take control. And in that 1 minute, he can't harm anyone or hurt anyone. That's are the terms that are well kept. And but the second is that Yuji would completely forget about this binding vow. Now, the interesting part is anyone does not include cursed spirits, which Mahito is. So, Sakuna, well, he decides to leave Yuji and decide to take over Mahito. Now, during his fight between during his fight between Gojo and Mohoraga, he figured out the way to develop his curse technique by not cutting a person but cutting the surroundings of a person, which allows him to create an effect of world dismantle or world slash, which allows him to cut through space itself. This application can also be used to other things, such as when he decides to attack Mahito to take over his body, he does not attack Mahito or his body, but his soul. He uses dismantle on Mahito's soul, and even though Mahito has idle transfiguration, which allows him to manipulate soul, it does not give him immunity to cuttings of a soul. Meaning, Sakuna is and has cut cut Mahito's soul with dismantle to the point where the soul at the quantity of soul that Mahito had is lessened enough for Yuji for I mean Ma yeah Sakuna to rip apart one of Yuji's finger and feed it to feed it to Mahito. Not only conquering Mahito's will, not his soul, and overriding it, but also conquering Mahito's body and his curse technique. Now, many people now at this point you might be thinking that due to the fact that it's not Mahito controlling it, the body would just simply vanish, but that's not true. So let me explain what a cursed spirit is. Cursed spirit is where is a person, not a person, but a being created through a mixture of so much cursed energy. Okay, so much cursed energy from different outputs from non jujutsu sorcerers, all negative energy combined into one mixed into a person or a spirit, which is called curse spirit. uh, and by maintaining and for maintaining this spirit form, they have to have cursed energy, which Sakuna already has. So it's easy for him to use and conquer Mahito's body to do his job. Now, the reason why I'm confusing Mahito and Moraga is because they have the same starting name, which is M, and that's confusing for me. Anyways, he now in Mahito's body decides to not kill Itadori Yuji. The reason is he wants to see Yuji suffer even more. He puts a hand out to Yuji and he notices a little interesting part. The thing is, Yuji is a supposed death painting. Now he knows what a death painting is because, well, he kinda is himself, or Chozo, the so called lesser version, inferior version to him is. And the second thing is Itadori's ability to interact with souls is still present within him, even after Sakuna came out of Itadori. Sakuna heals Itadori using not only ideal transfiguration but also reverse curse energy, reverse curse technique, basically healing his finger, also healing all of his body scars which he acquired. And he leaves Itadori again due to he wanting to see Itadori suffer even more. Now, Kenjaku is annoyed that Sakuna took over Mahito's body and now can use idle transfiguration with it because Geto had this whole plan with uh, him wanting to use Mahito's body to start the culling game. But Sakuna decides to just go along with Kenjaku's plan, or in his words, stupid plan, if he can get a good fight with. Kenjaku says he might because, again, the culling games is where the sorcerers come together and only the strongest reigns supreme. Kenjaku asks what Sakuna did to Yuji, and Sakuna explains it to him. And he looks at Kenjaku, asking him what his deal with was with Yuji. But before he could answer, they are interrupted by the arrival of Chozo, Yuki, and the Kyoto Jujutsu High School students who are trying to kill Kenjaku and Sukuna. But Sukuna steps up and completely, and I mean completely destroys Chozo as well as all the Kyoto students, while Yuki has a philosophical debate with Kenjaku. Eventually, Eventually, Sakuna decides to just go with whatever Kenjaku's planning and use his idol transfiguration to, and as well as imitating Mahito, to cause the people chosen by Geto to morph into curse spirits. Kenjaku and Sakuna leave, promising a fight that would last till the ages. The remaining and they leave by creating a distraction. Now, after this, the remaining people, the remaining survivors of this incident, gather up and search for survivors. They get Itadori Yuji in his traumatized state, and Chozo is worried. They leave with him. And days after, Yuji still isn't making much movement, but he's at least reacting to things because of Chozo, making sure he's alive. Yuta Okotsu is still given the order by the higher ups to kill Itadori Yuji, and Naoya Zenin, the person who wants to kill Yuji and Megumi, since according to GOJO, or according to the previous Zenin clan's will, Gojo said that if something were to happen to him, Megumi was supposed to be the new successor. which unfortunately he becomes. And now Naoya Zenin, who was supposed to become the clan head, hunts after Megumi and Yuji so that he could kill them both and be the new successor of the Zenin clan. This both Naoya and Yuta make contact with Yuji and Choso, but unfortunately, Yuji isn't reacting much. Yuta decides to kill again, kill Yuji, and Chozo tries to defend this, but he gets knocked out and carried away by Yuta, and Yuta tells that Itadori is dead, and he wants Naoya to inform that to the higher ups by and basically using Naoya as a bait. Now Yuji wakes up but doesn't really react to Yuta, which makes Yuta concerned about him because him seeing Yuji's mental state is really concerning, especially knowing about Yuji's backstory, which is similar to him. But Yuji has experienced way more trauma right now. Anyways, he finally he tries to talk to Yuji, but Megumi comes in, which finally gets a reaction from Yuji. Megumi sees Yuji's condition and he tries to talk to Yuji, but Yuji finally speaks that he wants Yuta to kill him and he starts begging for it. Megumi and Yuta are eventually able to calm him down enough for Megumi to ask Yuji for his help so that he could save his sister Tsukimi. That's her name, right? Tsukimi. Tsukimi. Once again, I'll search it up. I just forgot the name. It's a difficult name. Tsukimi. Fucking Tsukimi. Where the fuck is Tsukimi? Shit. Sukimi. I am. Yeah. Sumaki. Frick. Sumaki. Yeah, I forgot. Sumaki. And he needs Itadori's help, but Itadori denies it because he wants to die. But again, Megumi is able to talk to him, to convince him to help them, and they can decide Yuji's death wish later, which allows finally for Yuji to calm himself down and think clearly. And he decides to help him. Yuji decides to help Megumi. Now, Megumi, Yuji, Chozo, Yuta meet up with Yuki and Maki to meet Tengen. Now, I'm not going to explain who Tengen is. For that, you guys have to read the manga. So then Tengen explains who Kenjaku is, and the only true way to stop Sakuna, at least there's two ways actually. Number one is to interact with his soul, which from all of them, there are only two people who can do this. Number one is Yuta, number two is Yuji. And number three, the last option is Mahoraga. Mahoraga's adaptability can be used against Sukuna also. And when Yuji explains how Sukuna used Mahoraga as his crutch, this allows Tengen to create up a plan where Mahoraga can be used as a crutch for them also to figure out Sukuna's weakness. Eventually, they decide to split the team that has been made, decide to split, with Maki going to the Zenin clan and having her own arc, which she and Mai combine together, and she gains the heavenly restricted body. She slaughters all of the Zenin clan, including Manaya and Yuji. I mean, not Yuji. Yuta going straight to the curling game and fighting over there, while Yuji and Megumi going to recruit Hakari. Hakari gets convinced to join them after a duel and they join the culling game themselves. After this, the story really goes the same way, except for some new changes because their goal this time isn't to save Gojo but is to kill Sukuna. So the rules that they make, for example, transferation of points or I guess the ability to leave and come back. I'm just giving, yeah, the points which are added to the culling game so that new rules could be formed. The motivation behind it, and also some rules that have been created are different. Are gonna be different since again the main goal is to defeat Sukuna and Kenjaku. Anyways, the story still goes the same. Yuji meets Higuruma. Yeah, Hiromi Higuruma makes after the judge fight where Yuji finally has a conversation about his guilt and finally accepts that he has done what he has done, and and he accepts that the responsibility, the thing that Todo told him before dying about responsibility and how you have to live for others also. He finally understands that this fight between Higuruma is really important for Yuji as a character in this what if. Anyways, they still make him join them, and yeah, Megumi still goes through his shenanigans, meets Angel, and Hikari fights Kashimo, and then Kenjaku still fights Chozo and Yuki, and Yuki dies, and Chozo escapes, Tengen gets captured, etc., etc. Everything still happens the same thing until the plan to rescue Tamaki changes. As this time, they're able to run and chase Tamaki, or otherwise known as Yoruzu. Now, the reason why they were able to do that in the first place was because Sakuna used En-Chain here to not only capture, stop them from chasing Yoruzu, yeah, Yoruzu, which is, I think it's unintentional. But not only that, but they all this also makes him the gives him the new vessel. This also gives him the new vessel, that is Megumi, and gives him the access to Mahoraga, which we know how that ended up. Anyways, but this time they are able to chase the Yoyozu, which leads them to Sukuna. And the moment Sukuna, who was waiting for the squad to arrive, is surprised of Yoyozu because again he didn't have that really thought out. But Yuji, seeing Sukuna, immediately has a reaction. He immediately confronts him. And Yoruzu, who wanted to have some alone time with Sakuna, decides to step back and see what her cutie patootie, oh my god, I never thought I'd say that word, her love, her love would do. Megami decides to help Yuji by deciding to fuck it all again and summon Mohoraga. But this time, Sukuna isn't interested in Mohoraga anymore because, again, what could Mohoraga really do? But he has a plan. He has a plan he wants to do. So he lets Megumi summon it. He lets Megumi summon Mohoraga because he has a plan, a really good plan. And he wants to test something out actually. The moment Mohoraga comes out of Megumi's shadow, Sukuna blitzes Yuji, Megumi, Angel, Maki, Takeba, yeah, that's his name, Takeba, and whoever were included in that group, and just completely he touches Mohoraga. But this time, after a second of nothing happening, Mohoraga starts morphing. He doesn't know what. He starts morphing. He starts morphing into a ball which is small enough to be holden by fingers, which Sakuna takes and in front of everyone swallows it. Now this is surprising, shocking for everyone, especially Megumi, and this well, what Sakuna really did here was basically manipulate Mahoraga's soul and kind of stop him from adapting because Mahoraga's ability to adapt basically affects his soul as well. So if because Mahoraga's ability to adapt is like for every phenomenon, even soul manipulation. So unless Sakuna wants Mahoraga to gain a soul manipulation resistance, all of a sudden he needs to take Sukuna Mahoraga out, and that is to devour him. Not only devour him, but to also gain the abilities that Mahoraga has, meaning the sword of execution, which is ripped out of Mahoraga, and especially the most important thing, adaptability. This, the proof that this has worked is a wheel spawns in the head of Sukuna, in just above the head, signifying that Sukuna has successfully devoured Mahoraga and gained his abilities. I mean, Megumi is shocked, but Angel takes this opportunity to use the light of extinguishment, which basically extinguishes everything in its path without prejudice, and attacks Sakuna with all of her cursed energy. And she also uses the now, if you guys don't know what the light of extinguishment is, it's basically the nullification of any and all curse techniques. Like nothing, every single thing, barriers, cursed objects are no exception. Nothing, like even prison realm is not accepted to this. Now, then there is another technique which she uses this in conjunction to attack Sakuna is the ladder. It's like an extension technique that conjures four trumpet made of light in Angel's hands and an enormous circle of light in the sky above her. This resembles a magic array, and this allows her to summon a pillar of light to engulf whatever is below. And this curse technique is will be extinguished completely. It will extinguish anything in its path. Sakuna, interested in this, decides to risk it all. He rips apart his finger and throws it away so that if anything could happen, he could use idle transfiguration to reconstruct his body from scratch. And Sakuna decides to take the attack to see if these news powers would theoretically do what Maharaka did. He throws a piece of himself just in time for him to get hit with the light, which is said to be able to distinguish anything without prejudice. As dust clears, Sakuna's body is gone, wiped out, completely annihilated. But, but, the ripped off finger that Sakuna just threw before he got attacked starts wiggling, growing, and a naked Sakuna just starts regenerating out of the wound. This regeneration is not only idle transfiguration but also reversed curse technique. He used this both in conjunction to heal himself, not only his body but also his soul. Because surprisingly, it's still not confirmed or not. But I personally think that reverse curse technique can also be affected to the soul. So theoretically, it also could regenerate damaged souls. But again, this is just a theory. But yeah, anyways, this shocks Angel or Hana. That's her real name. If you guys don't know, her real name is Hana, but Angel is like the equivalent to Sakuna. So the point is, Angel is shocked because Sakuna really just survived an attack that cannot be survived. The wheel on his head spins one, indicating that Sakuna just adapted to this new technique. Adapted to this new technique because again, Moraga's ability is to adapt to any and all phenomena. It also includes extinguish. Sakuna starts laughing because he's just acquired evasion immunity at this point. But he decides to end it. This play has gone long enough. He decides to let these people who have been so idiotic most of their lives so that they could go with the grand ending. He uses Malevolent Shrine. And looking at Yuji, he says Yuji's final words. If you were stronger, you could have reached your full potential, but I'm not gonna let you go again for the third time. I'm not an idiot. So, as a token of a relationship, here, eat it is dismantle. And the last thing Yuji sees in his desperate eyes is Suguna's evil smile before he, along with every ally that came with him, Megumi, Angel, Maki, Takaba, etc., are all split apart, diced up, in pieces, killing them. And that's why I'm gonna end the story, guys. That's why I'm just gonna end the story. As I said in the introduction, as I said in the start of the video, that there's gonna be a cliffhanger. Okay, I did not say that, but I wrote that in the script, but I cut it out later. Anyways, this is a cliffhanger because at this point in time, you could just imagine whatever you want to imagine, and well, it could just come true because at this point, Yuji is dead. There's literally no main character in the story anymore. Yuta could maybe help this, but again, adaptation. Man has eraser immunity. You really think Yuta is going to do something? Even if he could supposedly copy infinity, the strongest curse technique of the verse, nothing's really stopping him. And Kenjaku's plan, or whatever his plan is, just comes true. And that's the end of the world of JJK. And this is what would happen if, instead of wanting to seal Gojo and make sure that Gojo is not a threat, what if Kenjaku decided to use the elements available to him to devise a plan to kill Gojo? I would really I really hoped that you liked this video, and I apologize for my bad English because, again, I'm not a English person by birth. I have learned it as my first language, but still, talking is difficult, especially by using words and explaining stuff. I really apologize for that. I really hope you guys continue supporting me throughout this YouTube journey. And anyways, this part is the final part of what if Kenjaku never sealed Gojo Satoru. And if you guys want another part, which I'm not going to make it, maybe I might make a short about it if necessary. If I get responses enough to continue what happened after Itadori died, you could just comment down below. Anyways, you can give your suggestions on what I need to do to make this channel better. Please, I request you guys to do that, and like the video, share the video to your friends so the range of Jujutsu Kaisen fans can be expanded and more interesting topics can be discovered and made into a video. So anyways, subscribe also, and thank you guys. I really thank you guys for sticking with me.